So welcome everyone. I'm Vajradevi, and very nice to see you all, to see many of you again, and to see some of you for the first time. Equally lovely. Yeah, wherever you're tuning in from, I was just having a look down the list this morning, and I'm aware that there are a number of people who are on this list that I was looking at, but aren't yet tuned in for various reasons. Yeah, there are going to be lots more people looking at the recordings who booked up, knowing that they won't be able to do the retreat in real time for various reasons. Yeah, a lot to do with work, people going back to work, but also to do with geography. So I thought I'd just tell you where we're all from, those sort of not yet on the screen and those of you on the screen. So there's over 20 UK centres represented through the people on the retreat. So on the list is about 65 to 70 people. It's changed. We've had last minute cancellations, and we had the most recent booking was just before 8 o'clock this morning. So it's very fluid situation. Yeah, so welcome to all of you from centres within England, also Scotland and Wales. Welcome to those of you tuning in from the Republic of Ireland and also the Netherlands. And also there's, I think, 3 people overall, one from Kempsey in Australia, and where there's a Sangha. And I think I met some of the Sangha on a recent book launch that I did for the Sydney Sangha. And then welcome to a couple of you from Auckland in New Zealand. If I've missed out any place, any location, maybe put it in the chat, and we'll remedy that. So before I hand over to Vajrapriya, who's going to give you some practical information, I just want to introduce the team for the retreat. So besides myself, I've got a lovely team and we've worked together before on a number of occasions. So Dharmapala, I can see on the screen, maybe give a wave. Yeah, Dharmapala up in Stirling. Mokshika was also on my screen a minute ago. Mokshika's in Liverpool, there you go. Vajrapriya is just in the cabin with me. There he is, got a slightly different view than me. And Tejadharani is a few miles out of Shrewsbury in Nestcliff. Not on my screen, but if you flick through to screen 2, I think, well, that's where she is on my screen. Savatanyana, where's Savatanyana? Is based in Cambridge. And haven't actually seen her here this morning, so hopefully she's there giving, she's giving us a wave. Hello. Well done, great. So hopefully that's everyone, 6 of us. And the team will be doing various things that help the retreat, input into the retreat, including running groups and offering reviews, which I think about half of you have taken us up on the offer of a review. So that's all I'll say for now. I'm going to hand over to Vajrapriya, who will tell us lots of helpful things.
Okay, just got to sort out our audio in the cabin here. Yeah, very warm welcome from me too. It's lovely to see people I know and people I don't know. So I've just got a little bit of input to give in terms of practicalities. So as you probably know, I'm the tech host. So if you've got any any practical problems, then contact me. You've got my email, or you can also phone me if you don't want to use your email. My phone number's on the main website page, which you've all got. Practicalities in terms of asking questions. So Vajradevi will be asking for feedback, for questions, for comments. It may work with this number for people just to blurt it out, but let's start off with me trying to field questions. So what that means is, if you can indicate you've got a question or a comment, some of you will know how to do this via raising your electronic hand. So on my screen, I've got a thing that says reactions, and there I can raise my hand, and it looks like a little yellow electronic hand. On your screen, you may find it under more. Some people, it depends on your app and on your screen. You may find something that says raise hand. Feel free to try it out if you want. So Alan has given me a thumbs up, which is a bit different, but it might also work. And some people might high five. Yeah, that's all good. If you can't find it, that's fine. Another way of doing it is to unmute yourself, and if you can just hold off with speaking, just unmute yourself and I'll notice that you're unmuted. That's another way of doing it. And if there's just one screen of people, then you can just physically wave, and that'll work as well. Okay, all good. So in terms of privacy, so you'll have noticed that the sessions are being recorded. And this is so that people who can't watch live can watch later. So quite a few people are either working or in Australasian time zones. So it's really helpful for them to be able to look at these sessions. And of course, that means that any comments you make will be recorded. If you're a bit unhappy about that, it may be enough just to turn off your video. You're welcome to turn off your video if you'd rather do that. If you want to make a comment which you don't want recorded, or if you make a comment which you later realize you don't want recorded, then let me know. And you can either give me a private chat in the session itself, or send me an email or a text pretty much by the time the session is finished, because as soon as the session is finished, I'll start processing it and it'll be uploaded within the hour. So you need to be pretty hasty about that. And it's fine just to say, can you just edit out that comment of mine? And I'm happy to do that. In terms of communications, I won't be sending you unsolicited emails during the retreat. So if you don't want to be checking your emails, then you don't have to check for anything to do with the retreat. Probably most of the practical stuff will come in sessions like this, just verbally. You might have noticed there's something called a Padlet, which is linked from the main website. This is like a kind of like a cork board, a sort of notice board, which is where I'll be pinning up any resources from pujas and readings and stuff. You're welcome to pin up any resources you like. It could be poems or comments or whatever you like, really, anything that you feel would contribute to the retreat. But also, if there are notices, announcements I need to make, I can pin them up there too. So you might want to check up on the Padlet, which you'll find linked from the main website. And of course, you can send me a private chat during the session if there's anything that you need to. You can do that by on my little picture. If you click on the three little dots by my picture, you can chat, and that just sends a private message to me. Okay, groups and reviews. So those of you who have asked to have meditation reviews will have a session with your meditation review leader and the other people that they're doing reviews for. So that will be a group session to report in this afternoon. So that's going to be, well, if you log in at 3:45, and then you can walk off and make a cup of tea, and then come back at 4 o'clock. So the session will begin at 4, but I need a little bit of time to divide you into your different groups. So if you log in at 3:45 for that. Yes, that'll be at this link, this main link. Thank you. If you're not having reviews, except for one or two of you who have asked to join the group, then you don't have to worry about that. The main meditation will start a bit later at 5:15. Normally the afternoon meditation starts at 5. Today it'll be 5:15. And then the reviews will start from Monday. If you've asked for reviews, you should have been told who they're with, and you can go to the main site and sign up for them. Sign up for the times you want. A lot of you have already done that. If you have any technical problems with that, then let me know. I know it doesn't work for everyone. And the final thing to say is we've decided, hopefully you've all heard this, we've decided to offer an extra meditation, an unguided meditation first thing in the morning, 7:30 a.m. UK time. That will start from Monday. Starts Monday. A 45-minute unguided meditation. And in fact, you can join this link anytime you like. I mean, you can arrange to meditate with friends of yours at a different time if you like. This room is always open. So feel free just to log in with a friend or two and meditate together. That's your option. Okay, that's all I have to say. Have I missed anything, Vajradevi? Okay, over to Vajradevi.
Okay. So this morning I'm going to introduce the retreat, and we'll have some chance to meditate and talk a little bit about practice. And we'll start off with a settling and arriving practice, which we'll do now. Actually, I was going to say a couple of things first, but we'll do that just to get us in the mood. So each time, just to let you know, each time there's a meditation, I'm going to put my headphones in so that I can point my computer at the shrine. But each time we sit, or even just when I'm talking, then do feel that you can turn away from your screen. That's what I'm doing basically when I'm leading the meditations, as I'm turning away from the screen so that I can be more with my shrine. But yeah, you can either turn the video off for your screen or just turn away from your screen. It is lovely to see people, but I know sometimes either you don't want to be seen or you just don't want to be looking into the screen. So each time I do that, I'll probably mute as well, because it makes a bit of a horrible noise, or the turning around of the computer. Okay, so if you'd just like to sit comfortably, we'll sit for about 10 minutes. So just taking some time not to do anything really, just to take off any sense of agenda or expectation. Just sitting here. Sitting here, and let that be enough. Within that sense of enough, you might be able to feel some sense of settling or arriving. Sense of landing in the present moment or on the present moment. Landing or contacting some aspect of your experience. And this can happen quite naturally. The mind is such that it's always knowing something. Connecting in with different sensations in the body. Sensations connected with heaviness or weight, contact with what you're sitting on. Sensations connected with ease and relaxation, letting be. And there may be other sensations where there's more tightness, resistance. Or whatever there is, just allowing it to be held within your awareness of present moment. whatever's happening within the body, within the breath. Perhaps sounds around you. Just what's happening within this moment. So rather than anchoring our attention with any particular aspect of experience, we anchor within the present moment, simply knowing what's happening now. Body, breath, sounds. Or perhaps a broader mind, body. Thoughts. Images. Sights. Paying less attention to what is being experienced than to the quality of awareness in the present moment. Always accessible, often pleasurable. Sounds, sensations, breath happening within this moment. When you're ready, just coming back to screen, taking in the others on the screen. Okay. So apologies if the sound was a little bit quiet for you during that meditation. I tend to just have one ear thingy in, and I have the other one tucked away somewhere, and I have the one with the microphone tucked away. So yeah, next time I'll make sure that I've got the right one in my ear. So I'm imagining that many of you have done a number of online retreats now. Thank you. But that may not be the case. But certainly my own experience and the experience of those I've talked to is what an opportunity they are, and how important they've been during this time when we haven't been able to get on in-person retreats. And one of the ways I think they've been really important is just in exploring that intersection between retreat life and home life. And often retreat center life, it can seem just quite different, quite separate from home life. And there are clearly advantages to that. We create very particular conditions on retreats that are really helpful for practice, for going deeper. And we take ourselves away from all our home habits. So there's very clear value in that. But I think there's also this clear value in this intersection, if you like, of retreat life with home life, and also retreat life, home life, and work life sometimes. And I think that's particularly the case on this retreat, as more people are starting to be able to return to their jobs. Yeah, there's quite a number of people who are combining all three of those things: retreat, home, and work. So I think this allows us to take practice into new areas of our life in new ways. And I think this practice that I'm going to be offering on the retreat is particularly, I think there are particular opportunities within this practice, perhaps generally within mindfulness practice or awareness practice, and I'll use the words interchangeably, mindfulness and awareness. But having this what we're looking to do is take this light awareness of the present moment into everything that we do. There's nothing that we do in which we can't theoretically take mindfulness with us, take awareness into what we're doing. We have quite strong habits that make that difficult in some ways and make it easier in others. But the practice is to take awareness with us wherever we're going, with us when we're in front of our work screen, or whether we're making work phone calls, or whether we're cooking lunch. Because unfortunately we don't, when we're on home retreats, we don't have that lovely rota system where we get to just have one job a day. We've probably got several to do. So this practice works strongly with continuity, a continuity of mindfulness to help build up the strength and the flexibility needed. So again, if we've got this idea that we can take mindfulness anywhere, then whatever we do within the week can be part of that practice. So I think maybe one thing that's come up before is sometimes for some people there's a wish to have other conditions. Oh, I wish I wasn't having to work during this week. I wish I could just be on retreat. So one of the ways, or one of the things that's emphasized also in the practice, is of an acceptance of what's happening. And in this context, it includes accepting the conditions in which you find yourself in this week. So noticing if there's resistance to what's happening, and a wish for other sorts of conditions, perhaps where you don't have the work element in your life, or perhaps some other responsibilities you've got. But be curious about the conditions that you've got and how mindfulness can work in those moments. There's all sorts of opportunities to notice things like resistance, or having some sort of agenda about what we think our practice should be like, what we want the conditions to be like. So just notice that happening. So I thought maybe I'd just introduce myself briefly for those of us who don't know each other so well. So I've been meditating about 37 years. It's an extraordinarily long time. I still feel so much to learn, so much more to so it's a part, I suppose it's a path of increasing. You see what you don't know, all the time. I've been ordained for 25, 26 years. And my interest in mindfulness as a path to insight, as a wisdom path, came very strongly about probably 23, 24 years ago. And it was initially finding a way to work with my mind that helped me work with a lot of pain, physical pain and tension in the mind. And I almost accidentally fell into practice that was more experiential. It felt less like I was trying to do something, and more I could simply pay attention to just what was happening, just in the way that little settling meditation was just introducing. And so this experiential practice allowed me to work in such a way that it included things like pain and tension. I didn't have to try and be free of those things before being able to settle and look at what was happening in the mind. So I've been very influenced by a couple of teachers who focus on Satipatthana practice, because that's the tradition that I've mainly drawn on, the early Buddhist tradition. So the American teacher Joseph Goldstein and the Burmese teacher Sayadaw U Tejaniya have been very influential, and I've been fortunate enough to sit with them a few times in different parts of the world. And so now I share this approach, and it's one of a number of approaches. The Satipatthana Sutta, you can, it's got so much Dharma in it. You can take it in a lot of different ways in terms of reflection and in terms of meditation. And I've taken it in a particular way. So I want to say briefly where that intersects with our Triratna practice, because it is very compatible. So one of the areas is within the just sitting practice. So just sitting has that very receptive aspect to it. We're just sitting. I believe Subhuti tells the story with Bhante Sangharakshita saying to him, when you're sitting, just sit. So very little in the way of instruction, but very simple, noticing what's happening when you're sitting. So the other area that this practice has parallels with is in the area of our mandala practice, these 5 aspects of practice. So we have the spiritual receptivity in the center of the mandala, and that's the method using, and then spiritual death, which is often talked about simply as insight, and that's if you like, that's the direction, if you like, that we're going in. That's where the mind is going. So that's what I offer, that's what I teach, and that's what I have to bring it out. That's what I based my book on. And for the last 6 months, I've been zooming into different centers all over the world, actually, just talking a bit about the book and this particular approach to practice. Seen many of you along the way. So many years ago, I was on an order convention, and I remember Bhante introducing an order member called Bodhi Mitra, who was giving a talk. And in this introduction, Bhante said, we should be watching our minds all of the time. I was so happy to hear him say that, because that's an exact description of what I had been learning at the time and what I was finding so sort of exciting and insightful in practice. And so that's what I'm offering, really, is a way of watching the mind. Subhuti talks about it simply as mind watching. And just in case that sounds a bit sort of cognitive, mind in this sense is an ability to know what's happening through all of the 5 physical senses and the mind sense. So it's the awareness faculty that's knowing what's happening throughout this these interrelatedness of body and mind. And maybe I'll say a little bit more about mind, defining mind. And again, this is done differently in different Buddhist traditions, but I think it's quite mysterious that there's this, we're, if you like, paying attention or noticing or watching this something that has no form. It doesn't have a shape, it doesn't have a color, it doesn't have a location or an identity. But we can know the mind through various functions and capacities. The capacity of the mind to feel or to think. I'm sure we're all very familiar with both of those capacities, actually. The thinking is often very dominant. The planning mind, remembering mind, the imagining capacity of the mind. and the mind that's able to perceive, to interpret, to decide, to set an intention to act. So all of these functions perhaps help us broaden a sense of what the mind is, particularly not to just associate the mind with the capacity to think. In fact, I think it's becoming more and more to emphasize feeling as a sort of broad quality of the mind. What's the feeling in the mind? Can be a useful question to ask. And awareness, of course, awareness and mindfulness is also an aspect of mind. And what we're looking to do in the practice is mindfulness or awareness isn't necessarily a very strong factor. It isn't necessarily a very well-developed capacity in the mind. It may be, and we may find it's quite strong in certain areas and maybe less so in others. But what we're looking to do in this practice is to develop a mind where there are, more often than not, the awareness is present. So we're building the, if you like, stringing together those moments of awareness so that awareness can be part of how the mind is operating in more and more moments. It's not one of those, mindfulness is not one of those factors of mind that's omnipresent, that's there all the time. There is another factor that is omnipresent, and that's the factor of attention, and that can support awareness. But it's useful to know that mindfulness is not an omnipresent mental event, so it needs encouraging. It needs some intentionality behind being able to remember and remind ourselves to look for it, really, or to tune into it, to open to it. Okay. So perhaps a few things around the practice. So one is that the Buddha talked about using the mind in different ways. One of those ways is that we can direct the mind, and this is what we do in practices like the mindfulness of breathing, or the metta bhavana. Actually, there's a lot of practices where we're quite active in choosing where the mind will go and encouraging the mind. In the mindfulness of breathing, obviously the mind going towards the breath, resting with the breath. So that's an example of a directed practice. But the Buddha also talked about undirected practice, and he mentions this in the Satipatthana Sutta, both these ways of working. So undirected practice is what we'll be doing this week. So it's where we just open up to what is the mind knowing, what is being known through the different sense spheres in experience, and maybe tune into that now. What's being known? I have a sense of my shoulders. I can feel my case of resting on the back of my neck. I can feel my hand in this particular position that might not be that visible. There's many things that can be known, and if you like, one of the beauties of undirected practice, we take advantage of the fact that attention, this quality of attention, is always knowing something. There's always something being known. And whatever is being known is something that helps. If we know it with conscious awareness there, it helps awareness grow. So basically, we can be aware of anything. And whatever we are aware of, a moment of awareness, whatever it's aware of, is a moment of helping mindfulness or awareness strengthen and grow in the mind. So it's broad, has this breadth to it, rather than the directed, one-pointed attention. So with one-pointed practice, again, using the example of the mindfulness of breathing, often there's an emphasis on concentration or samadhi. Samadhi is the word, that's translated often as concentration. Lama Tillman is one of Vasantra's teachers. He talks about, he says, don't talk about samadhi as concentration. It is deep relaxation and stability of mind. I really like this. I like that you sort of relax into stability, relax into the mind that's settled, stable, aware. There's often the experience of concentration is not necessarily relaxed. It can feel a bit tight or a bit forced. So this is a real reminder, I think, for a different quality, or different words can convey different qualities. So samadhi, rather than being, perhaps this emphasis on concentration, it's got this emphasis on a deep stability and relaxation of mind. So another way of talking about the practice is through the fourth satipatthana of Dhamma Nupassana, watching the mind from the perspective of the Buddha's teachings. And another one of the meanings of Dhamma Nupassana, Dhamma in this sense is phenomena. So this moment by moment experience that I've been talking about, we can see it as phenomena, simply phenomena arising through any of the sense doors, including the mind door. And simply knowing what's happening, knowing our experience. And this word phenomena, I think, is quite helpful for suggesting that there's a less personal way of knowing what's happening. Simply knowing experience as experience, rather than something that belongs to someone, me, of course, or you. It's actually something, it has a suggestion of much more sort of flow and fluidity. So we're looking to relax the mind, so that's able to recognize different aspects of the mind at work. How do we come up with, how do we, that process of personalizing experience, how does that happen, for example? What's the mind like that's paying attention to objects? Settling back and relaxing into what's happening helps us see more. In a way, we see more. It's a bit like they're looking in. This is a funny analogy. It's just come to mind. Sort of looking into the engine of, looking under the bonnet of the car, if you like. We're looking into what's not usually seen. Usually, we're sort of trundling along with our own sort of outward view, and mindfulness practice sort of turns the lens around to this sort of interactive body-mind process. It says, what's going on? What's happening? So it might be that you're more familiar with mindfulness as being based around the body sensations. And watching the mind in that case can feel more discursive, and that can feel like maybe you're not doing the practice right because you're aware of more that's happening in the mind. And it is easy initially to get lost in thoughts, but it's also quite possible over time to become aware of thoughts as thoughts, recognize the thinking that's happening in the mind rather than being pulled off by the content of experience. And one thing that can be quite helpful is just to alternate, if you like, between a more sort of physical based grounding in the physical senses, particularly the tactile body sensations, and then opening up to a more choiceless or spacious awareness that can also notice mind processes happening. So time is going on. I'm just going to say a few more things before we have just see if there are any questions, and then we'll have a little break before sitting again. So even though we can tune into awareness in quite a natural way, and suggest that whenever you hear something that sort of triggers, often for me it just can be the word mindfulness or awareness, present moment, triggers you into what's happening. You sort of re-notice what's happening in this moment. So yeah, go with that and see if you can take in what I'm saying from that place of knowing what's happening for you in this moment. So even though that feels quite natural, we can also, some of the ideas we have can help influence the quality of awareness that we cultivate. So we're looking for something that's quite spacious, quite open, easeful, playful even. It's receptive in the sense that it's open to what's actually happening. There's no agenda about what's a good thing to be aware of, for example. I.e. the breath is a good thing to be aware of, and the resistance or aversion that's arisen in the mind is not a good thing to be aware of. Whatever's happening is a good thing to be aware of, whatever is happening in the mind. Naturalness, that quality of, again, not having an agenda, I think allows the mind to be quite natural. It rests with what's happening. Not or noticing when there's some controlling happening or some interfering with what's happening in the mind. And often that comes through, oh, this shouldn't be what's happening, I'd rather something else was happening. Yeah, allowing. I think it's I think allowing or is quite a far-reaching sort of quality, really, to really just let what's happening happen, and with the clear awareness of it. I think often there's a uncertainty or unwillingness to be with what's happening because of the fear of it growing, perhaps the fear of anger growing in the mind and then overwhelming the mind. And I think that's a valid concern, and there are ways of that we'll come on to that will work with that. But really, yeah, as much as you can, just allowing what's there to be there without trying to think, oh, I should make it different. Recognize that fear or that concern of the mind being overwhelmed by what's happening. And then once you've recognized that, you might think, okay, well, I'll just, that is a bit much for the mind at the moment. So I'll just come to a simpler object. I'll just come and rest with the breath for a few moments. So you sort of walk a balance, if you like. You walk a line between allowing what's there and recognizing when in this moment this is not helpful for the mind. But you don't do that too soon, because maybe the quality of awareness that's there is able to simply recognize anger in the mind and what that feels like, and is able to be with it. So you don't want to miss that opportunity to be with what's happening and see that the mind can hold perhaps more than you thought it could. There's a whole area that maybe I'll touch on more in the meditation, and that's to do with the quality of energy or the quality of effort. Just to give you the nutshell, so this is to do with being curious, interested in what's happening, and not trying too hard. I've been saying on the book launches, I've been using this little phrase, use the minimum effort or energy necessary to still be present. And actually that's a surprisingly small amount of energy, just using what's necessary to still be present. And there's Analia gives us a clue, and he says in Satipatthana practice, right mindfulness can take the place of right effort. So sometimes just being present is enough. It's enough. That's we don't need to use anymore. Joseph Goldstein puts it in a slightly different way. He says we want the attention to be relaxed, but not casual. I think this is a lovely distinction. When we're casual, there can be a bit of a perhaps a lack of sensitivity or a lack of concern for what's happening. So when we relax, we're open to what's happening, but not casual in the sense of it's, we've brushed it off a little bit. Okay, I'm going to stop there. I think I have more to say, but that's sometimes what you have to say takes longer than the time that you've got to say it in. So let's stop there for now. And are there any comments or questions before we have a little bit of a break? There might not be at this stage. It's early stage, but I'll just give it a minute.
Hello, could I ask a question?
John, yes.
Yes. Very good to be at your on this retreat again. After I did the one last year, so it's very good to be back. Just one simple question. You often refer to the mind and not so often to my mind. Is there a significant difference between the two of them?
Yeah. Yes and no, but really it's just it's so easy to personalize, and sort of in that personalizing we take ownership of something. We take ownership of the mind, if you like. But what is it really? It's if we're wanting to look a little bit more objectively at what's happening, then sometimes the language that we use is helpful. Sorry, my apparently you didn't hear some of that. The internet connection is a bit unstable. Okay. Sayadaw U Tejaniya says something like, he says, the mind is not yours, but you are responsible for it. And I really like this. So we don't need to take what's happening within the mind so personally. Things come and go. How long does a thought last in the mind? We can allow the mind to be much more fluid and free when we're not identifying with it and personalizing with it, and using the mind rather than my mind is just one way of doing that, of having a little bit more objectivity, allowing the mind to be a little bit more fluid and open rather than identifying with it. And as U Tejaniya says, the mind is not ours, but we are responsible for it. So we have there's some agency, there's some capacity to encourage skillful factors of mind and to identify and not feed unskillful qualities of mind. It's a linguistic thing. So and in a way, our minds are not stupid. They get sort of used to, oh, she's doing that thing again of wanting, to help not identify, and I don't buy it, but sometimes it helps to just use this slightly more objective language.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, let's have a break. Let's take 15 minutes. So let's come back to start to meditate at 10 to 12. Yeah, should be long enough to get yourself a drink. Okay. So if you'd like to set yourselves up in a comfortable posture. I'm thinking of choosing a posture that supports awareness. What's going to be helpful and supportive posture for the next 30 minutes or so. It might be a posture that emphasizes ease, relaxation. Or it might be a posture that supports precision and attentiveness. And you might see some correlation in the body and mind. What would support those mental qualities? And that in turn support awareness. And initially, it can be helpful to just tune into one aspect of your experience. Not a single point in that experience, but perhaps the whole of body sensations happening. Or the breath as a whole. Or tuning into sounds. Sounds as they occur, as they arise around you, in your environment. Sounds within your own body. Or you might find, as I'm mentioning these different aspects of experience, that your attention picks up things within that sphere as well, crisscrosses body, sounds, breath. And in that case, your anchor can simply be the present moment. What's happening in this moment and this one. And you can support that anchoring in the present moment through every now and again, simply reminding yourself to be aware. Strengthening that intention to remember to be present. And what you're present to is of less importance than simply being aware, being present. You can settle back into awareness, supporting receptivity, resting back, letting a bit more attention rest in the back of your body. Aware of what's happening from this place of settled backness rather than reaching forward, leaning into the next moment. Receiving the moment, receiving what's happening, a breath, a sensation, a sound, a sight. appreciating the mind that's awake and aware. Moment after moment. Every now and again, feeling into the quality of energy or effort that you're using. Notice if there's a strong sense of doing or trying, wanting something to happen. And if you recognize those things, there's no need for them to go away, but recognize them within awareness. What does trying feel like in the body, in the mind? What does trying feel like from this settled back place of ease and rest? Notice when there are moments of interest, curiosity. And that might not be so connected with what you're noticing, but perhaps with the quality of mind, quality of awareness that's taking in what's happening. can the mind be relaxed and yet not casual? When you find body and mind are quite relaxed and attentive, you may be able to notice quite easily where the attention is going. Attention is always going somewhere. Landing on the breath, drawn to a sound, or a sensation. And see if it's possible to allow awareness to accompany attention as it moves from place to place without any direction from you. It's simply what attention does. Like a butterfly moving from leaf to leaf, lightly, with sensitivity. Awareness recognizes where attention is going and accompanies it. If you find your mind is a bit sleepy or drowsy, it can help to open your eyes. Recognize that seeing is happening. Visual impressions, color, shape, form. Or you can turn your attention to the quality of the mind that has drowsiness in it. What does sleepiness feel like? Does it take over the whole of the body and mind? Is it possible to also have a different quality, the quality of awareness, recognizing the quality of sleepiness? And perhaps recognizing it again and again. What's the feeling in the mind that is aware in the present moment? Tuning into that. So we have a few minutes, and I'm going to invite anyone who would like to say something just about what you noticed in that practice. It might be that something in particular just caught your interest or your attention. And we'll probably do this every day at some point, just to give you an opportunity just to articulate. Might feel like on the surface quite an ordinary experience, but sometimes the quality of interest or attention that we brought to it makes something about it feel a little bit extraordinary. So feel free to raise those electronic hands, or otherwise make yourself known. Alan, if you could unmute, Alan, that would be good.
Mute and allow you to see me.
That would be nice.
There we are.
Hello.
I've noticed with this relaxed approach, it's the instances of coming back into awareness, noticing, are closer together, and I just seem to be, and when I lie down, I used to fall asleep quite easily, but that doesn't seem to be happening as much lately. I don't know whether it's to do with the relaxing into it or what. But it's yeah, it's quite a change for me.
Okay. Was there anything in particular that you noticed in the practice that we've just done?
That's what I was noticing.
Noticing more awakeness in the lying down? Yeah,
quite strongly. That was the main feature, really, and it has been in the last few meditations I've taken part in.
Yeah, great, good. Yeah, it's very helpful when we can do that, get that balance of relaxation and alertness lying down. It's just very helpful to have as many different postures as we can up our sleeves that will, in a way, we can you know, yeah, so because sometimes the body needs a different position, but to be able to sort of, in a way, translate it as a way of being aware and doesn't necessarily happen so easily. Yeah. But yeah, lying down is a great posture to use. And I think it also helps us access deeper levels of relaxation at times, just not having to bear the weight of the body. Just really allow it to sink into the surface. Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Tim. That's your hand.
Yes, that was interesting. When I directed my awareness to whatever was going on through the senses, that was fine, whether it was sounds, smells, feelings. But as soon as I stopped paying attention to what's going on, the dominant awareness was where my mind was, and which seemed to take over. And it was then all in my head, what I was thinking, where my mind was going, drifting, imagining. So I'm wondering whether that is skillful or unskillful.
Okay. I think it's a matter of becoming more skillful, not in the ethical sense, but more skilled at watching the mind without diving into its contents, because that's the way that we're usually with our mental experience. We're in the midst of it, we're completely caught in it. So that's a very strong habit, and so it's not surprising that that's where we'd go to the content. So if we were able to do it gradually, just spend a little bit of time sort of with that more open undirectedness, which includes different mind contents or flavors, you know, the thinking mind, the feeling mind, and various others. And then if you notice that, oh, that pulling into content, well, two things. One is you can remind yourself, you know, what's happening here, what's being known in the moment. Oh, thoughts are being known. So in a way, there's that initial sort of step back from the content. Just, oh, this is thinking. And yeah, if you still find that you're pulled into the content, come back to the physical senses and the sort of grounding in the body. Yeah, so it's really, as I say, it's not about an ethical sort of skillful or unskillful. It's more about becoming skilled in how to be with an aspect of experience that, you know, we're not used to being with it in that way necessarily. But yeah,
it's almost, I've got to detach myself from the object, well, from the subjective mind to the objective mind to be able to watch it, which I'm aware of what's going on, and because that's what I'm able to share that now.
Yeah, great.
I'll stop there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any last one before we break for lunch? Tejadharani.
Yeah, so I noticed in that meditation, you can't remember your exact words, but you invited us to explore what trying felt like. So I kind of had a look at trying, and it was very much a kind of contracted, slightly forward motion in my body. And then you asked us to explore trying from a more settled back position. And that was very, very different. There was suddenly all this space. It was much lighter and far more subtle. So that was interesting to kind of notice that, and how, in a way, the kind of default position in relation to trying is that kind of slightly forward momentum and slight contracted feeling around it. So yeah, that was interesting. Thank you.
I wonder, just thinking on the hoof now, that's a little bit like what Tim was describing when, you know, with the same way that we can be identified with sort of the mind, the contents of thoughts, we can be identified with that trying. It's like it's the main experience or the whole experience. But actually, when you introduce something else, that sort of settle back, a sort of resting place for awareness, then maybe that allows both to be held, really, but the trying to be held in a different sort of relationship.
Yes.
Yeah, great, thank you. Okay, so that's pretty much what we've got time for now. So for some of you, we'll meet again at, if you could log on 3:45 if you're having reviews or in review groups. And then, as Vajrapriya says, go away for a cup of tea, come back at 4, and we'll be in our review groups. And those of you not having reviews, see you, we'll start at 5:15, but you can log on a bit before that if you like, that'd be helpful. And just see if what you take from this morning's session, what you take from exploring that sort of quality of awareness, and dropping back every now and then, when you remember, dropping back into the present moment, regardless of what you're doing, whether you're thinking or trying or eating or out for a walk, whatever it is, just see it's that relaxing back into a slightly different relationship to experience. Okay, lovely to see you, and yeah, see you later on.